All right, I think I am streaming here. Can test that out by checking my Weekend Warrior stream. Check, check, check. Oh, no audio. Let's see. Check, check, check. Still doesn't look like it's working. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, audio still seems to be broken here. Check, 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 check. All right. Nope. Nope. Okay, testing, testing, testing. Check, 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 check. Oh, sounds promising. Check, 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 check. Okay, let me try this now. So this is with slightly different modification. Okay, let me try this now. So this is with slightly different modification. Awesome. That looks like it works. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this broadcast then and start up just a brand new one. Goodbye, my one viewer, Michael West. All right, I am now live streaming. Cool. So let's get a chat room open. Cool. Get a chat room open. Okay. I'm just going to pop off the stream into a new window, pull it over here so it's a little bit closer to what I'm looking at over here. I should be able to. Yes, I got a haircut. Actually, I got many hairs cut. Almost all of them, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can actually put the chat window up here on the screen, maybe. Let's go over here. Let's do, what is the URL for this? It's a pop-out live chat, so. There we go. That's not at all what I have in mind here. There we go. So I've got the chat window up. And the problem with this is whenever I switch back, it's going to lose the chat window. So I have to have a way to keep that up on the screen. Where is that? There we go. So that's a fairly decent setup right there. We've got the chat window up over here and some helpful details down here. This ought to make it for a nice little setup. And I believe my audio is still working. Yep, sounds good. But I think I'm going to move the chat window from here over to here. There we go. I think that should still be fairly legible. So, yep, we should be good now. So if there are any slow or broken sites, let's go ahead and see if we can debug them, tear them apart. So let's see, if you're still online in about 15 minutes, I might have an interesting edge issue on my Insider 14393.5 Dell Optiplex. That would be wonderful, Nick. I will be here in 15 minutes, so whenever you're ready, I will hopefully be prepared to assist from my computer here. Now, this computer I'm running is actually still on 10.586, which is the build from last November. But actually, just here in a couple of days, I'm excited because that's when the anniversary update is going to be launching, and the new version of Windows 10 that we've been working on for the longest time will be pumped down to this machine, and I will be on a modern machine once again. It's kind of been painful being on 10.586 while at work using, like here lately, like the 14.300 builds and stuff, knowing that all the insiders are having access to all this exciting stuff in their average day-to-day, and I don't, not on this machine. I chose not to opt this machine into the insider program. I wanted to keep it on the same version of Windows that the vast majority of users out in the world are on, so that I can help kind of debug and triage and reduce sites. It's aggravating for people, for users out in the world, whenever they report an issue and then an engineer here on the team or somebody like that goes to the site, says, sorry, can't repro it because my machine is actually on a newer version. You're not quite sure if it's fixed because of the newer version of Edge, or if it because like a hardware issue or a driver's issue. So I'm trying to keep this particular machine as close to what everyone else has as possible. So if you have something to share, I'm going to actually check my incoming tweets right now, and that should give me I think there was actually one URL that was reported, so I might actually take a look at that and see how well the this new functionality, this new broadcaster XSplit, which is actually right down here, I think. Yeah, a little watermark just until I pay for this. So we'll see how well this is working. Let's see, so there's one report here that battlefield.com just shows a black screen on 14.393 Edge. So I don't have 14.393 Edge on, again, the Surface Book here, but I can still check here because oftentimes the issue reproduces. So let's see, if I jump over to this display, and I believe you should still be able to see, yes, okay. But that is on top. I'm gonna make one adjustment here. Gotta move this up above. There we go. So that should look right. So I'm gonna go to, what was it? Battlefield. And before I do that, I'm gonna delete all cookies and all that kind of stuff. Just to make sure that I get a fresh. What else can we delete? I would leave those alone. A fresh experience as I go to battlefield.net, or battlefield.com rather. So what I've got open up right now is the Microsoft Edge developer website. Really great resources. Actually, on the previous scene setup, you'll notice that I had bugs.microsoftedge.com. That's actually here in a web platform, I believe. Maybe it's not web platform. Yeah, we'll have to check that. I'm gonna actually go check Battlefield real quick. Battlefield.com. So we're looking for a black screen. There's a black screen. Okay, and it actually loads in on this build. But it looks like it was waiting for something. So I'm going to jump back in here and inspect this real quick and see how this page works. So in my DevTools, presumably what I'm looking for is a class or something on the desktop, or actually on the one of the root elements that gets added, causing this whole thing to come into view. So if we refresh, we've got the head. There's a class on there, a bunch of presumably feature detection taking place. And it looks like the body didn't actually even load on the DevTools there. We can see what the class name of the body. There's no class on there. Yes, I may actually have to open this up over on my desktop and debug it there. So let's try that. I will switch back over here, jump into the alternative view. And I'll check out battlefield.com. And I'm actually on 14.393 as well, so This should be a good repro. I see the black screen. And that's it, just a black screen. So let's see, I'm gonna start out by right-clicking on the page, inspect element. What I'm thinking is there's probably some type of JavaScript error that is preventing whatever command causes the page to be rendered, because you notice whenever battlefield.com is loaded, it's just initially a black screen, and then after a few seconds it seems like something is happening, then the page kind of fades in and you can see the whole thing. So I suspect there's some logic in there where maybe there's an asynchronous request, something going to the server, and it's pulling back data, setting up the page, and when it's finally ready, then it shows the page. Either that or there's some other type of JavaScript error that is maybe just preventing a simple command that adds a class to the body to reveal it. I do notice that as I'm sitting here, I just opened up the DevTools by right-clicking on the page and going to Inspect Element. You'll have to do that, or you can do that if you've already enabled the DevTools in the past. New to relatively recent builds of Microsoft Edge, the DevTools are a bit more difficult to fall into unintentionally. It's not uncommon for people who are non-developers to accidentally find themselves in the DevTools and just kind of freaking out a little bit. So now if you press F12, they should open up just fine. Otherwise, you can go up to the three dots up in the corner of Edge's window and click on those, come down and click on the F12 DevTools. And then from that point forward, right-clicking on the page should add an Inspect Element option. So I right-clicked on battlefield.com. I'm now looking at my DevTools. I right-clicked and select Inspect Element. I'm now looking at my DevTools, and I see that in my console there are two errors. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that real quick. It looks like there are two CSS files that were not found. So I don't believe those would necessarily cause any issue. But let me go to, I have seen this before. So the body element has this unresolved attribute. Let me actually see if I can, yep, okay. I think I just filed a bug on this last week as well. I'm trying to think what framework this was that uses this unresolved style. Essentially what happens though is in CSS you're able to style things differently based on the presence of an attribute. Let me actually see if I can pull up real quick an example of this. So if we pull up the browser again, and the browser has frozen on this page. Let's see here. Let me pull up real quick a brand new browser instance rather. And we will share this. And I'm curious what, because this looks so familiar. Like I saw this another site that uses this unresolved attribute, and whenever the attribute is on the element is hidden. Let's see. Yes, the XSplit is a nice application. So big thanks to Brad Sams from Petrie for making this suggestion. I'm still kind of struggling here to restore this machine from being frozen. Oh, there we go. No more stuff just crashed. Okay, I think that's what I wanted because I had some processes hanging. Okay, so let's try this again. All right, I've got one browser up and running. And here's the second one, so I can share this one. So let's try this one more time. Let's switch over to YouTube. There we go. So the chat is in place. And then if we go to switch our view here, I should be able to select from here my other window, which is Bing. Where is that? Let me try this one more time. I swear there's a purpose to all of this. I'm trying to get to a website that will let me kind of demonstrate what's happening with Battlefield.com on 393, and then we'll file the bug. So let's select here. Oops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay. All right. So now I should be in business. So I've got JS Fiddle opened up here. JS Fiddle is a great little website for creating simple, isolated script examples, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There's also jsbin.com. Might actually use jsbin.com for this one. And so in this case, what I want to do is have CSS open on one side, my HTML on the other, and I'll turn off the output for just now, for the time being, and beef up the display here. And then what I'm going to do is put in just some content, H1 hello world, hello viewers, hope you like or love or like CSS. So in this case, let me jump back over to the output. This is the little tiny web page that we've just built. It's very simple. It has a body element, H2 or an H1 element, which is a header, and then a paragraph. And in this case, in Battlefield's situation, what they do is they start out with this unresolved. So they say unresolved equals, and they just have this attribute there with no value. And so what you notice is I can now use that attribute to target the body element from the CSS. So if I were to come over here to my CSS, I could then say I want the body to be background red. I could make this selector portion, which is right here, I can make that conditional on the presence of the unresolved attribute by adding that unresolved into square brackets. And so now this is only going to have background red if the body has the unresolved attribute. If we were to pop that off of there, it wouldn't have the background red because my selector over in the CSS column no longer matches. And so what happens is Battlefield.com starts out with this unresolved attribute on the body element, but instead of having background color equals red, what they have is display none. No, let's see. Display none hides the entire page. What we can have is the background black, and actually I think we might put the background black in this case on the next element up, which would be HTML. We'll do background black. And so now we have just a black page. And for the body, we'll give that a background of white. It doesn't matter. You can't see the body because of the attribute unresolved that happens to be on there. And so what I'm going to do is simulate essentially what's happening with the Battlefield.com. We can hide the CSS and HTML. We'll just come over to the JavaScript. And then what happens is there is a bit of logic that takes some time to run at the beginning of Battlefield.com. And so we have, to simulate that, I'll use the JavaScript set timeout method, which takes a function, which you can see here, and then it executes that function after a predetermined set amount of time. That amount of time is measured in milliseconds, so 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. So essentially what we have here is a function which we can actually pull out even further. We'll call this reveal, and we will fire off reveal just like this after 1,000 milliseconds. Actually, we'll reduce this even further to something that's a little more intelligible for the average watcher that's out there right now. And so we have this function called reveal, and the set timeout invokes reveal after 1,000 milliseconds. What this does is it basically calls document body remove attribute unresolved. So now after a second, you'll notice that, let's see if we run this. After 1 second, it should remove the unresolved attribute from the body element. It is not doing that. Why is it not doing that? We have remove attribute. I believe that is the correct API to use. Let me just double check this real quick. So we'll jump into my console, document, body. Let's see if I zoom in a bit here. And no set attribute, so document.body.set attribute is right there. Remove attribute is right there as well. So this should work. It looks like I might have an unnecessary semicolon in here, although that should not cause the issue. So we'll run that after 1 second. Reveal is not removing the, wow, isn't this glorious? This is gonna break on me right when I'm trying to show this. So unresolved. Let's just do something real quick, and we'll go to open up this console here real quick, and let's try and do document.body.remove attributes. I don't know if this console works in the context of the page on the left, so we are figuring this out together. Doesn't appear to do so. Let me do one other thing here. We'll put an event listener, click, and whenever you click, it will do document.body.remove attributes unresolved. The other potential, I think, issue here is that we're targeting a different document.body. Let's see if we do alert document. Oh great, I'm gonna turn off the auto run JS. Alert, now we're getting into like what the heck's wrong with JS bin and how does it work. Document.body.outer HTML. We'll see if this gives us that. That's right, unresolved. So remove attribute. This totally should be working. Why is this not working? Suppose, let's see here. This is entertaining television right here. Entertaining internet television, I guess. So I'm doing an iffy right now, which is immediately invoked function expression. Actually, I don't need that. Sorry. Document add event listener. DOM content loaded. I'm really just kind of straining here now to figure out why this is not working. I have the unresolved attribute over there. Let's see. Oh, nice. So Ben already filed a bug for the Battlefield issue. So I think actually, Ben, this is a known issue. Like I said again, this looks familiar. I believe I saw this maybe a week ago, tops. I think it's a framework issue. I'm trying to think what other site I saw this on, though. It was another site like this where it just wouldn't render. That's going to eat away at me until I look that up now. Interesting. Well, this still is not removing the attribute from the body element. That is so peculiar. I'm not quite sure what is going on here. Let me pull up, right now, we'll pull up mdn remove attribute. I believe it just takes a single string, and we're all set. Yep, so you pass it the attribute name, and you should be good. Why does that not work? Interesting. If I rip that out, and I run that, we get just a black screen. Body unresolved, display none. There seems to be some other issue here because you notice like this, the body does not have the unresolved attribute any longer. and yet it's still not displaying. So this is weird. The CSS is totally out of sync with the page, it looks like. Anywho, this is the issue that is at hand. So if we were to go over to Battlefield again, hey Jason, how you doing? And then open up the DevTools. Hopefully this does not freeze up the page. So you notice inside here, let's see if I can actually stop this before that unresolved attribute is actually pulled off. So if we can find a piece of script up inside the head, we might be able to halt the execution of this page. Or actually we could, let's see, debugger. And I'll reduce the size of this just a little bit. Breakpoints, and we'll add an XML request breakpoint. Let's see if this fires any XHR request before that unresolved attribute is pulled off of there. Could not locate a source map file. Nope, looks like the XHR breakpoint didn't work for us. So this is, again, I'm not on a 14393 machine here right now. This is my 10586. And 10586 apparently does not repro this issue. So what we can do is we can go to this bug that Jason has posted or that Jason has shared. And that is bug number 8301531. So let's see if we can just go there. We'll go to bugs.microsoftedge.com. Close my DevTools, and from here we can search for that particular bug number. Actually, I'm going to drop into one of these and then just replace the number at the very top. So that was 8301531. Battlefield does not work under Edge, and so we got the steps to reproduce, go there, expected, website shows. Yep, good. So that shows the 14393. If you are watching this right now and you're on a 14393 build, I know that I can confirm it is not showing, and that is because of the unresolved attribute on the body element. If I were to come in here and say document.body.remove attribute unresolved, yeah, the moment I run that on the desktop, it actually shows. The problem is it didn't load in a couple of those CSS files, and so the layout looks a little wonky. And so that might be why the unresolved attribute is not being pulled off of there, because of the failure to load those CSS files. So, and let's switch out of that view so we get the chat back. Jason Moon, shout out. Let's see here. So I'm going to look at my most recent bugs that I filed and see if I can figure out which one was it that was actually related to this Battlefield.com one. It is a library issue, if I'm not mistaken. I would just have to dig into the debugger on there to figure out exactly what libraries are being loaded. There's quite a few domain names in play here. Battlefield.com, the ones from that domain though, let's see, we have source, components, what I can do actually is from the debugger I can do a quick look for the word unresolved. There's the body element with unresolved. Here is web components.min.js. Inside here, there's actually some dynamic styles being inserted. So I wonder if I can, let me see, I might be able to do this from here. Yep, so it looks like Niels confirmed in 14393. So Niels, if you can go to that bug that was just shared, please go ahead and click yes, I can confirm. It works, it repros for me as well. Hey, Tennessee Bighorn. You know what? If I'm not mistaken, are you the gentleman who got pumped up and is going to start learning programming at like 50? I believe you might have watched. What was his name? James Whitaker, I believe. Do I play Minecraft? Yes, I play Minecraft. Yep. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, JavaScript is amazing. In fact, I'm going to be looking at some JavaScript right this second. So I'm going to pull up back to my browser here real quick. Let's see, and I'm going to jump in and I'm going to go back to, let's go back to Battlefield again. Now, again, it works on this particular build, which is my 10.586 build from November. So, you know, I'm not going to be able to repro the issue here unless I come into the dev tools. Let's see if it shows my dev tools. I just popped them off of the browser. Yep, okay. So I'm going to jump into my dev tools real quick. Now, I know the issue is with the word unresolved. So there's this word that's going to pop up in the source code some places. Unresolved. The first place it shows up is on the body element. Again, this is being manually coded, presumably by whichever engineer is working on this particular site, or I suppose an early script might be able to push that attribute onto the body element if it's able to get to it early enough. So let's see, next instance of unresolved, again, I'm just hitting enter from up here in the search region. Next region comes from this file webcomponents.min.js. So I can kind of pretty print this JavaScript. Again, like, you know, this is how it ships to my browser, but this is not very legible, so I can pretty print it to see what it looks like. And I can see, okay, we are at the end of a very large file, about 4,000 lines of code. I can see here they're creating a style element. They're setting the text of that. So they're creating this style element on the fly. They're inserting it before the first child of n, where n is the head. So they're putting it at the very top of the head element. So let's see, that is where resolved appears inside there. So you notice this is just the styling to hide the page. Notice the opacity is set to 0, which makes it fully translucent, that none of the page shines through. The display is blocked, that's expected. Overflow is hidden, that creates should create like no scroll bar if scrolling is turned off and stuff. The position relative, okay, none of this stuff is super important. The opacity 0 is like the big one there. Let's see the next instance of unresolved. That is, here we go. So now we're at a section where you notice we have body remove attribute. Let's see if we can pretty print this. So we have this function inside here which has document.body.remove attribute unresolved. So this is a Polymer issue. So there's Polymer, Web Components. Polymer is a Google library which is meant to polyfill web components in browsers that don't support the technology, if I'm not mistaken. So again, I apologize for this like XSplit logo right here, but I have yet to buy this application. I'm still kind of in the experimental phase. And at least I got it on the right side there. Okay. So let's see. We are at document body remove unresolved. So what I'm going to do is just set a breakpoint right here. And by doing that, by clicking on the line item, I now ensure that when the browser starts to parse this JavaScript, when it starts to execute the JavaScript, and it comes across this line of code, it's going to stop immediately, and it's going to let me examine the environment. So if I hit Control R, it has now refreshed the page. You notice I still have my breakpoint down here waiting. So once we get to that particular part of the JavaScript application itself, this web page, it halts. Everything freezes, and I am now in a frozen copy of this website. So if I wanted to, I could pull up my console real quick and I could say document.body.get. I could just look at attributes. You notice the attributes, it returns this named node map list, I believe. Named node map prototype is on the proto, yeah. Let's see, we have an item at index 0, which is an attribute. And that attribute has a value of unresolved, or a name of unresolved. So that attribute unresolved is actually on the body. So if I were to say, you know, give me document.body outer HTML, a substring of 0 to 50 characters. So give me the first 50 characters of the document.body element, and you notice there's that unresolved attribute on there. The next step is going to remove that, but I actually want to know what has happened before this. Like, how did we get here? There's some library code here. Let's see if we jump into that. So we are now inside function E, which is right here. Function E was called by function G. Function G, we're still inside web components, which was called by V, by F, by P. I'm going to go all the way up to this anonymous function here to see what this was. So there's a set timeout. It says window custom elements ready time equals date.now, which is going to be like a Unix timestamp type value. If I were to do that at this moment, that's the time value that we get. Let's see, window.html imports. So that is kind of loose feature detection. If HTML imports is supported, then this expression to the right gets evaluated. We have window.custom elements elapsed equals window custom elements ready time minus window HTML imports ready time. Okay, so this event right here, I suspect, is not being triggered. So what I'm going to do is this code right here, I'm going to manually type this into my other browser to see if merely dispatching the web components ready event causes the page to be rendered. So I'm going to refresh Battlefield over here on my other computer. And I'm going to see, I get the black screen, getting quite a few errors in here. And now I'm just going to start to type this. So we'll do document.dispatch event, new custom event. The event is web components ready, bubbles. And they're doing a little trick here. So instead of saying bubbles true, what they're doing is they're taking the falsy value of 0 and they're negating that with the exclamation mark, which creates the true value. So they're saving 2 characters by saying, you know, exclamation 0. And so we do bubbles true, closing paren, and run that. Closing paren, closing paren. Sure enough, if I run this code inside the console of my desktop, and again, anyone out there who has witnessed that battlefield.com is not working, feel free to open up your developer tools, click on console, and type this line of code right here, and you should notice that that causes the whole page to render, although there are still some layout issues. So it looks like we have a couple bugs here on this site. One is obviously the web components ready event is not firing, but 2 is something's preventing it from firing, and we got to figure out what that is and resolve that. And so let's see here. What prevents this section of code from running? There's a set timeout, which is ran immediately. Got a request animation frame here. Okay. And I don't think, it doesn't look like that runs itself again. So we have the, let's see, we'll show Yep, no, it's not taking me to the async function. Anywho, let's just step through this one more time. But that's clearly the issue there is the web component's ready is not being fired, and as such, the page is not being rendered. And since it's not being rendered, the E method here, document body remove attribute unresolved, is not being added. So we can then add that information to the bug. We can add the line of code that is supposed to fire that, which is here, web components min.js. And yep, that's great insight. So good. So we know that's a web components issue for that particular site. Let me see if I can find web components related issue in my bug tracker, because I think I saw an issue very similar to this recently, like in the last maybe 2 weeks tops. So we'll look over here. Yep, okay. So that is where I saw it. There is another domain that has a very similar issue. I'm curious if I pull it up, if it will reproduce again for me here. The domain is uproxy.org. And oops, looks like I covered up the chat window, so let me switch the view here. Oh, looks like I might have froze Edge here with the DevTools being open like that. There we go. So uproxy.org, you notice the page doesn't render here. It eventually does on 393, I'm sorry, on 10.586. But if we load the page up like this, we jump to the very top, refresh. The body is not being shown. There's the body, there's that unresolved attribute. And you notice that will be popped off here momentarily. Unless the page just froze again. But that is the same attribute that we're seeing from the other web component sites. Let's check Twitter again to see. Oh, well, Don is very nice. So let me refresh this again real quick. Let's see if we can see that attribute actually get popped off of the body element. So there's unresolved right there, still on the body. You notice here's that CSS that was actually injected by the web components script, where it creates the body unresolved selector, which has opacity set to 0. Now I could go ahead and just turn this off, and there's the page, or I could reveal that again. The unresolved is not being fired, and so actually we're finding ourselves in a situation that is very similar to what's happening on 14.393.5 or 0.3 builds. There's some type of script that is preventing Polymer from firing that web components ready event and removing this body unresolved. If we were just to manually remove this, delete it like that, you notice the whole page loads in just fine. And so that is actually the same issue that we got to report. And again, I'm looking at when that was. That was, so I filed this one, looks like just a couple of weeks ago. So it's kind of a nice timing on this. So that's uproxy and Battlefield both suffering the same fate. at the hands of web components and Polymer. Not web components, but Polymer, more specifically. So actually what I can do is, and again, like that was actually Hank Poley on Twitter that had reported the uproxy site. So what I believe I will do now is take, was it Ben's bug, and add that to my bug as a reference to let the engineers know that this particular issue can be seen on more than just one site. It's actually not just uproxy plus Polymer. This seems to be just an issue with Polymer in Windows 10, 10.586, presumably, apparently sometimes, and 14.393. So Eric is asking a bit of an aside, but are you guys planning to start releasing the browser updates as an app rather than with the OS? I'm assuming by that you mean in the store, and that's unfortunately something I won't be able to help with because I'm just one of the web platform engineers. I do know that the intention is to identify ways and paths forward to release more frequently, more often. But yeah, that's unfortunately not something that I would be privy to. It takes place in a different office. But if you have JavaScript questions, I can help you out there. So let's see. I'm going to look at the bugs.microsoftedge.com. And Battlefield is the most recent one at the very top. I'm going to sign in myself and report that I too see the bug. Actually, yeah, and honestly, that question is not even so much for devs or PMs. Yeah, I guess technically the feasibility of it is. But it's not something that I would be able to answer, unfortunately. So let's see, I'm looking over here. I'm clicking Me Too for Ben's bug on Battlefield. That looks like now there are 3 people. So again, if you repro the issue on battlefield.com, if you just see a black screen with nothing showing, please go to Ben's bug, which is mentioned over here, a little bit up. You have to scroll up just a little bit in the chat window. Let's see if I were to scroll up for you. That's on bugs.microsoftedge.com. Bug number 8301531. 8301531. And confirm that you too see the issue. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and reference this now from my bug so that we know that this is spread a bit further than just one domain. So I'll say issue also affects battlefield.com. And I can grab the Battlefield bug ID, which is 8301531. And I'll start to pull that up. So let's see. Yeah, okay. So Nick, you're confirming that you also see just a black screen on battlefield.com, presumably from a 14393.something build. So if that's the case and you have not clicked the little Me Too box on the side of bugs.microsoftedge.com, please go ahead and do that. In fact, let me pull that up just again real quick. So we'll drop to the bottom right view where I'm down here, and we'll pull up the website, and we'll go to, let's see, it's bugs.microsoftedge.com. And you'll notice at the very top, around the top, if you type in into the search, if you don't see it, but if you type in Battlefield, you should find, oh, maybe not, battlefield.com. You should find the bug that was reported. We currently have 3 reports. Thank you to everybody who clicked on that to share that it affects you too. Once you log in, you'll see right in this region here a small Me Too button, and you can actually jump in and let us know that it affects you as well. Excellent. So I'm going to get the 2 bugs associated now. And what's next? Someone else has to have a good busted site or a question or something to share. So this is going to be bug number 8301531. All right, my uproxy bug is now updated. What is your Twitter? My Twitter is right here. Sampson MSFT. So if you have anything to share via Twitter, please feel free. You can do so there. I will try to keep up with the tweets, although it's a little bit more difficult. So if you have something to share, you can post it there. I will follow up with you potentially after this broadcast. What is this? Okay, I had a weird little preview on my screen. If I don't get to you during the broadcast, then we might have to catch up with each other afterwards. But if you post the URL there now, I may come across it now, or you can post it here in the chat room over there, and I should be able to get to it there as well. So let's see if there's anything new here. We have a report. Espero que aqui 70 anos eu ainda vejo fazendo esse mesmo tweet. Which tweet is that? Okay, so I think it was a bit of a jab that there are website issues in Microsoft Edge. There's always going to be website issues. There are many browsers. Web technologies are very hard and complicated, and they move and shift and develop. They're like living beasts, and so there will always be issues for every browser. One of the exciting things that we do on the Edge team is whenever we come across interop issues, which are items that cause friction between different browsers. So sometimes we'll come across an item that renders the same in Edge and Firefox, but differently in Chrome. And sometimes it'll be a different combination of those. It'll be Firefox and Chrome and differently in Edge, or Firefox and Edge differently in Chrome, or Edge and Chrome and differently in Firefox. And oftentimes what we'll do is whenever we boil it down to just the bare bones of the issue, the fewest lines of code to reproduce the problem, we actually file bugs for other browsers as well. And so there's a bit of like camaraderie there. Like, browser engineers, we have a mutual respect for one another because we know how hard this is. It's very, very difficult. And as a result, we oftentimes help each other out whenever we come across issues like that. So small graphical anomaly with video loading on IGN. So Jesse Cook, if you can drop in repro steps, I'm happy to look at it. The desktop that I'm streaming from, actually my Surface Book, is 10586. So if it repros there, we can probably start to try and figure out what the issue is. Alternatively, my desktop here is 14393.5, I believe. So if I can't repro it here, I'll try to repro it there. But yeah, just drop in some repro steps and we'll see if we can check it out. So let's see here. I'm getting lots of confirmations from people that Battlefield.com is showing a black screen for them. This is awesome. We're fixing the web, people. We're going to figure it out. This is amazing. Xiaoyin Liu says, I filed 8219384 last week. It's a browser hang issue when editing files on GitHub. Not yet confirmed. Can you take a look? Can you reproduce it? Thank you. Let's see. So editing files, you're talking like a README file or something? If so, I can try that. Let me see. Let me look at the bug real quick, actually. So let's pull this up on here. So I'll copy this bug number, and we will switch over to here. So I'm inside the bugs.microsoftedge.com. We'll paste that. Let's go check this out. So hang when opening github.com file editing pages in Edge. So steps. Oh, this is perfect. This is amazing. You've got like a dump here and everything. Okay, or a stack actually, it looks like. So we've got to visit github.com and Edge, then log into GitHub. After that, visit GitHub, TLS working group. Same window. You can see the tab is not responding and the hang lasts for more than 1 minute. Okay, so this is 10.586. Repeat steps 1 to 2 in Chrome and Firefox. Page loads very fast. Reproducible in 10.586 on Windows 64. Updates installed. And on 14.390. Okay, so that's good. That's the more important number than to us, since this is more relevant to the feature work that we're currently engaged in. So let me go ahead and try and follow through these steps on my desktop real quick, since this is a 14.390 breed, and we'll see what happens here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into github.com. I'm logged in already, so now let's go ahead and navigate to the URL here that you're sharing, the TLS working group, and then we have TLS 13 spec, edit, master, draft, IETF, TLS 13.markdown. You need to fork this repro to propose changes, so I will fork this repository and propose changes. So this is now, let's see, the tab is, my tab is actually in the not responding state right now. So merely forking the repro was enough to get Edge into a slightly locked up busy state. So at this point, what I'm thinking I will probably do then is, just to confirm that this is a kind of a chronic issue, that it's not a one-off type of thing, I'm going to close that tab, and I'm going to start up a new tab and repro the steps again. If it reproduces this time, so I go to it, page is loading, page is not responding. So this may be, I don't think in your issue though you refer to actually having to edit or fork the repository. You're talking about actually editing, if I'm not mistaken. No, I think, yeah, you're just in opening the file editing page. So this is actually assigned, which is great. This is the perfect bug. So you have as well an attachment here. Presumably that's an ETL or a dump. So there's not really much that I need to look into for this. This seems to be really well done. Nicely done. Great job. So I am able to repro that issue as well, I believe. Let's see, I got the page to open up now. Let me try to open this up again and see if it also hangs. It is hanging. So I'm going to go to that bug and click Me Too. So let's see here, if we go to Issues, I do a search for editing page and see if it's one of these. GitHub.com. What was the ID of that? That was 8219385. for, there we go, Penguin opening GitHub. So clicking me too, now we're in this together. Hello. So Anders, if we can repro this with even one file, then that is more than enough to submit a bug. The system that GitHub uses for editing any file is going to be the same. For the most part, I presume, I mean, that's a safe assumption that they have a single file editing page, and therefore the only variant in that whole equation is which file you're actually editing, if it's a large file or a small file. And so in this case, if you find one file that you simply can't edit, that is sufficient to file a bug, and that's something that we can actually look into. Even if it is a specific file, we still want to be able to file a bug for that, because all files should be editable trivially, easily, without any type of delay or problem. So let's see, Jesse Cook says he found the example for IGN repro is to open a video review link on IGN from Bing. Page loads and circle for loading does not look correct. So I still am going to need, all right, let's try this. We'll do Batman Arkham Knight video review. So let me jump back over into a browser here. We'll go to bing.com. Actually, I want to leave my bug site up so I can quickly get back to that. You can actually see here, so in this case, this particular bug that we were just looking at, if I jump forward, where was that? GitHub.com, where was it? 8.2, oh, there it is. So this particular bug, you can see it's assigned to Rico M. That is actually an engineer, an extremely smart engineer on my team. So, Rico is a really, really great person to look into this. You're in good hands. You've provided plenty of information to better understand this issue, as well as helpful dumps and stuff like that. So, thank you very, very much. That is a pristine example of how to submit a bug. Let's see. Next up, let's go to Bing.com, and we're going to take Jesse Cook's leadership here. And we're going to do a quick search for, what is it? IGN Batman Arkham Knight review. Now I'm zoomed in a bit. Let me zoom out. And let's look at the top review here. And what I'm being told is that the loading circle doesn't look right.
Where Arkham
Review loading in here, ads across the top.
Asylum, the first Batman game from Rocksteady Studios, had the sense of a fresh beginning for superhero action games. Batman Arkham Knight has a sense of finality. It builds on the revolutionary fighting style with powerful new moves and enemies. It expands on Arkham City's open world.
Everything seems to look okay to me, unless try reloading the page. Okay, so this is maybe one of them things where it's related to a timing event with styling or layout, and we might have to reload a couple of times to see the problem itself. So we do have a long-running page.
Where Arkham Asylum, the first Batman game from Rocksteady Studios, had the sense of a fresh beginning for superhero action games. Batman Arkham Knight has a sense of finality. It builds on the revolutionary fighting style with powerful new moves and enemies. It expands on Arkham City's open world with a larger, more deep...
Just fine for me. Here, Jesse. Perhaps... send it over, post it on Imager or something like that. PlayStation. It didn't wrap around the circle.
Detailed version of Gotham City. It introduces a fully playable Batmobile and makes it an important part of action and puzzles. And it brings all of Batman's closest family of Gotham's superheroes and rogues together for an amazing, great-looking finale.
I've got you. Let's try this one more time. So I see. Oh, okay. I do see there is a slight.
Where Arkham Asylum, the first Batman game from Rocksteady Studios, had the sense of a fresh beginning for superhero action games, Batman Arkham Knight has a sense of finality. It builds on the revolutionary fighting style with powerful new moves and enemies. It expands on Arkham City's open world with a larger, more detailed version of Gotham City. It introduces a fully playable Batmobile and makes it an important part of action and puzzles. And it brings all of Batman's closest family of Gotham's superheroes and rogues together for an amazing, great-looking finale.
I've got you under my skin.
Arkham Knight's roughly 12 hours worth of story missions do a great job of playing up the long history between
Let me see what that looks like on the stream.
Great job of playing up the long history.
Okay, this is. I totally apologize for the audio there. This is not. This is, I think, the first time I've actually streamed with audio playing in the
Between
browser.
Batman, the Three Robins, and Jim and Barbara Gordon. The plot does stray a little too far into the supernatural for my tastes, but in doing so, it drives wedges between allies and delves into Batman's psyche in an interesting way. While the mystery of the Arkham Knight's identity fizzles, there are plenty.
Oh my goodness, that is loud.
But in doing so, it drives wedges between allies and delves into Batman's psyche in an interesting way. While the mystery of the Arkham Knight's identity fizzles, there are plenty.
Oh my goodness, that is loud. Let me just try to keep that muted then. Okay, so let's see. Let's try. I'm trying to think how I can capture just that particular piece of this page. We could jump in here real quick and see if that element still exists in the document to be, redisplayed. It might be that that is an element that is still in there that we can just toggle the visibility on. Let's see. So we have the video overlay widget. I do want to stop this from playing. Now, streaming a high-definition video is adding a bunch of additional burden on my machine, so you have to excuse some of the delayed response. And there we go. Okay. So let's look at. Is it going to pause? I don't know if it's going to pause. There we go. All right. So we have the video share button. We have the video overlay widget. There's a social overlay, talent overlay. This whole widget, we just delete that. Tooltip hover area. So you notice the styles that change as I move my mouse over this and I pull it back off. You have the IG and controls overlay class that gets removed. And then there's the IG and fade class. That IG and fade class presumably sets the opacity or something to 0. Yep, there it is. So if we turn that off and we turn IG and fade's opacity 0 off on this one as well. There's also this Z index. Opacity, Z index. That brings up the controls again so we can see them, but that's not the portion that is actually causing the issue. The issue is with the loading animation. I'm trying to see if we can find that now. We've got the share button, which I don't think that's what we want either. What is this here? So we have an iframe. This is loading Google API. That's an ad container. We'll get rid of that. Here is VJS poster. It's video.js if I'm not mistaken. VJS hidden. I don't think this is anything that we really care about, so I'm going to delete this as well. Here's the play button. We can delete that. This is a control bar, playhead holder. I don't see any of that preloading stuff inside here either. Let's see, you see a big play button. Here's something with visibility none. Age gate, presumably that is asking you to confirm your age, so I can just delete that. Here's another add control bar. I don't think we need this. So Jesse says there is a big play button. Let's do a search for big real quick, see if we find that. Let's do another search instead of big. We'll do a search for play. So there's a video replay element here. Let's see, I'm just checking Twitter again real quick. We do have a report with PayPal checkout in Edge. PayPal dialog box has loading animation but then crashes. I won't be able to check that unfortunately directly right now, since that requires having an account, making a purchase, doing a checkout, all that type of stuff. But let me just continue to look at this real quick. I think it was one that you deleted, sorry. Let's see if I deleted it. Let me jump back in real quick, and we'll see if we can catch this before it goes away. My concern is that the element is actually being removed from the DOM before we even get to it. If that's the case, this would be a very difficult thing to debug. So let me see if I can right click and inspect this real quick. I see there was that video review plain in. Let me try and search for that word. Video review. We'll do plain in, since video review may appear in multiple places. I want to make sure I'm not streaming any game audio again. Okay. So we're looking for plain in. Looks like the DOM did not develop itself properly here. There's really some scripts on here that are making this difficult to debug, primarily because I'm also streaming. My CPU is like really just being hammered right now, and so I think what I may have to do with this particular site is take this offline. What I will then use is Fiddler to create an autoresponder version of this particular website, which, you know what, maybe I can just try that right now. So we'll cancel this, and I can leave these open, that's okay. Yeah, IGN is really hurting right now. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and open up Fiddler. Looks like my machine is hurting right now. This is, there we go, Fiddler. And so I mentioned Fiddler on last week's broadcast. Fiddler is a web proxy debugger. Essentially what it does is it sits between your web browser and your web browser and the server that you are making requests to, and it's able to intercept those, make manipulations, changes to those, and ultimately give you the power of controlling the entire internet as if it were being loaded from your machine. So right now I have Fiddler running here. And go ahead and pull out a couple of these. So essentially, I guess we'll just kind of do a crash course with Fiddler here. Over on the right-hand side of Fiddler, on the left side is the sessions. These are all the requests that are going to be coming in and responses that will be going out. Let me actually drop to a different screen here for this. And I will have to add a... Let me see if I switch this screen output, switch to Fiddler. Okay, so this is what we're looking at now with Fiddler. On the left side here is the session list. This is where all the requests for remote files. If I type in facebook.com, we're going to see that request here. If we type in bing.com or something like that, we'll see the request here on the left side. And whenever that service or that server responds, we're going to see the response again here on the left side. We can then manipulate that if we need to, and ultimately change any of those files as though they were files presently on our file system. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce the size of that. I'm going to switch this window here to just my full screen, if it's possible. Doesn't look like it is, so I'm just going to have to create a full screen window. So we'll take this and I'll just delete the Fiddler. And we'll do screen capture. There we go. So I'm going to position that now so you can actually see everything. Okay. So now you should see Fiddler up on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Batman side again. Ah, okay, so it looks like Jesse already found it. That's good. Div class hero countdown. So we can actually start to, I'm going to set this to capture. I'll refresh Batman. You notice here's all those requests coming in. There's the IGN article. This is all the other requests that are coming from that IGN article. So I'm going to decode this session, pull it over into my autoresponder, and then we can go ahead, right-click, and edit the response, and open this up in text view. This may not be as clean as your favorite text editor. You can edit these responses in your favorite text editor if you choose to do so. So in fact, I mean, I'll go ahead and right-click on this, and I'll say edit file with, and then we'll grab Visual Studio Code. So here we are inside this auto response file. And let's see, so Jesse says it is called Hero Countdown. Looks like this is it right here. Okay, so just by looking at this, we're dealing with SVG. We have done some SVG work in recent builds of Edge. So if this repros, and forgive me, Jesse, if you reported that this already repros in 14.393 as well, but there are going to be many SVG issues that have been resolved. I need to bring my camera back up on top of the video here. One-man show, people. This is what you get. And anyway, so there are going to be a lot of SVG improvements in the anniversary update of Windows 10's Microsoft Edge. Jesse does report that it does repeat repro in 14.393.5, which is great. So we know this is an SVG related issue. What we need to figure out now is if there's something simple to remedy that. So we see this SVG is 100 pixels by 100 pixels. The view box is set to 100 as well. We have a circle in here. The circle should not take up that full width, so it starts in the very middle of it and has a radius of 45 pixels or 45%. There's another one that has starts in the very center and has a radius of 35%. So actually, what I could do here is we'll leave all this hero markup in place. I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to delete all of this markup. Let's see, I think I can go even higher than this. Nope, I'm going to stay inside beneath the header. So we'll take all of this out. So I've just stripped out a lot of code. My fiddler is still running and capturing. I can remove all these sessions, and I'll pull up Arkham Knight again. You'll notice that one of these has a yellow line with blue text. That means it's actually using my local copy. So now you notice this is what the site looks like now that I just made some serious changes. And so if I were to come back in here again into this element and delete everything after, let's see, there's sidekick. I think I'm still inside the video element area. Come down after all of this. And from this point down, I'll start to delete again. We'll just go to here. So Nick, you're heading out. Thank you very much for hanging out with us for just a tad bit. We'll see you next time. And now that I've deleted, I can refresh again. And again, this file is coming from Fiddler. It's not coming from the server. So below here we have less content. And we still have our video in place up here. I wonder if I click that, if I get the video to play. Doesn't look like it. So it might be that I removed something crucial. But this is what the debug process looks like. It is a matter of trying to isolate only the core piece of the problem. So we could then drop all that stuff back in there. I don't know if that is going to be the if this is going to be the issue. So what we can do is just kind of grab this SVG element real quick, drop this into another document, and see if it looks the same way. So I can see from here, I don't see any fill commands. There's fill none. So I have to see what color that generates by default. So I'm going to drop over into JSBin again. Drop this SVG into a document. I can't immediately see anything there. So we'll try setting the body background color to black. That is not changing. Why is that not changing? Shouldn't have to say color. Oh, that's out. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what is the deal here. Let me turn off my fiddler capturing. Try this again. There we go. Okay, now that's working. So this element right here, what we're seeing if we turn off the CSS, we're actually seeing the play button and the pause button. These two circles here, though, I'm not quite sure why. It's a class outer circle, class inner circle. I don't know why those aren't rendering. Let's see hero pause and play, so we can just strip those out. Maybe if we do okay, so if we do style fill on these, we can actually give them some color. So I don't think this is that loading circle either. So let's see, Jesse is suggesting maybe the countdown fuse. So let's check that out. Let's go ahead and do a quick search for that. So that defines a path. Path ID of P, class hero countdown fuse, fill none. I don't think, let's see, there's not really much to that unless there's some stuff that is temporarily in there and then ripped back out. So this particular bug is a little bit more difficult because it's very temporal. It happens just for a couple of seconds on the page. You have to have a really keen eye to catch it. So this one will require, I think, a bit more of offline testing to see if we can actually isolate the real cause of it. it's tough to tell from this because whenever we're dealing with a static text document like we are right now, I don't know how or whether or not that particular path element gets modified during the lifecycle of the page. I could be looking at it in one particular state, representing one particular point of time that is not indicative of like the full life cycle of it, whenever we press refresh on the page itself. So if I'm not mistaken, we have this filed. Jesse, if you filed this on the bugs.microsoftedge.com, if you could go ahead and just share the link to that, that'd be pretty excellent. And then I can go in and click, I also see the bug, and that will add some additional weight to it. And anybody else who is able to pull up IGN real quick and pull up one of the reviews and also repro the issue, feel free to click it as well. And so we'll just kind of wait and see if that has been filed already. I think Jesse said it has been filed, so we'll just wait for that confirmation. So Brennan McCullough on Twitter says that there's issues with checkout on PayPal. Brennan, if you could pass additional details. Basically what we're looking for in a case like this is very explicit details, very detailed, telling us exactly what's taking place, what you're doing, which page you're on, if at all possible, without exposing personally identifiable information or any other type of sensitive data. Screenshots are very helpful as well. Oh, looks like my chat window has frozen. Let's try and refresh this again. Yep, there we go. Now we're back in business. Yeah, screenshots, animated GIFs. There is a utility called Screen to GIF that I use all the time. It's really amazing. In fact, I could actually show you a quick demo of it here. Possibly. Let's see. Well, yeah, we'll just pull up the Screen to GIF site real quick. So, switch my camera view. If we're here and we do a quick search for Screen to GIF, this will take us to Codeplex. And this particular tool right here, I would strongly encourage you to download this, use this to record one particular portion of your screen wherever the bug happens to be taking place. Fantastic utility. Really, I honestly cannot imagine filing the bugs that I'm filing with much success without it, because it is truly a really helpful tool. So there you go. It's Screen to GIF on Codeplex. So definitely go download that if you're a Windows user, if you're on a Windows machine, and consider putting some animated GIFs inside your feedback. When are you going to release the add-ons just like Mozilla does on Firefox? If by add-ons you mean extensions, we actually support extensions right now. So, support for extensions will be going to everybody. It's been for the Windows Insider program for quite a while now. But let me go ahead and jump quickly to the browser, and we'll go to another website here, aka.ms/edge extensions. You notice this actually brings up all the information, kind of showing what we use or what we presently have support for. So you can see the API support here. We have supported APIs that you can then jump into to see exactly what is supported inside the Edge support for extensions. Presently, you can sideload extensions if you are a developer. You can do that from your, let's see, actually I can't do it from this build. This is a 10.586 build, but you can go into your About Flags. So from here, About Flags, and there will be a developer option inside here to allow yourself to sideload extensions if you want to do some development. And for the time being, though, we do have the official store is kind of on lockdown with an isolated set of well-tested and reliable extensions. But you can start to develop, get familiar with the system. A lot of this, we really leveraged pre-existing approaches to make sure that people who have developed extensions for Firefox or for Chrome are able to more easily port their extensions over to Edge as well. And so we've seen some extensions that have actually been ported with a single line of code, or actually less than that, changing one line of code. And that has been sufficient in many cases to create an extension that works in Microsoft Edge. So I hope that answers your question. If not, I just rambled for like 3 minutes, and that's okay. Let's see what else we have here. So Evil Pro says, the issue seems to have vanished after I clean installed this morning. If I encounter it again, I'll tell you. I need to click on this to see what the context is of that discussion. Okay, so this looks like a forum website was not rendered correctly, but after updating or upgrading, it seems to have resolved itself. So Dan Silver, if you're on the Windows Insider program and you find that there is something that causes Edge to crash, inside the feedback hub, whenever you go to create a problem, there's actually a button to start recording. And when you record that, you go through and you do the actions that causes Edge to crash. You can then submit a crash log with that data. Alternatively, if you don't do anything, if a crash happens, it's very likely that telemetry, whatever caused the crash, will be sent back to us and filed for investigation so that we can fix whatever bug is in Windows that caused the crash. And so you can kind of proactively engage that process by going through the feedback hub, or you can just kind of patiently await. And if other people hit that same type of code path that crashes the browser, then that will of course increase the weight of that particular item on our end, and we'll look at it more quickly. But yeah, if you do run into a site that crashes, please feel free to post it in the feedback hub with a recording, or you can share it with me directly, and I'm more than happy to try and repro it myself. Extensions to work in private, I honestly do not know. I know right now our primary focus is to develop the best possible support for extensions in the primary browsing context that everyone uses, which is the standard browsing context. That is our focus right now with regards to extension, is just to make sure that we have that locked down and that's stable and working really reliably. From then on, we can start to explore other options for extensions. A lot of people want to know, are we going to do extensions on mobile? Again, we've got to make sure that the desktop is stellar, that it's working supremely well, and then we can start to evaluate other options. So hopefully that answers your question. So I think we're coming up now on just about an hour of streaming. 2 hours maybe, actually. Might take a short break and gather some lunch, and then come back later on for just a little bit more. I think this is a good stopping point. And so let's see, I'm poking around on Stack Overflow right now as well. I'm trying to multitask. Let's see. Ooh, somebody on Stack Overflow apparently found an issue that crashed Edge as well. So this is exciting. Let's see if it works for me. If they can crash my browser. Let's see. They did. They totally crashed my browser. This is amazing. Okay, so I have a crashing bug. This is awesome. I gotta file that bug now. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go poke at this now and see what we have. So, excellent. So Jesse Cook posted the IGN issue 8335622. So then we can go and check that out. I also repro'd the IGN issue. So, well, I didn't crash my browser, I crashed my tab. Let's see here. Bugs.microsoftedge.com. Down here. I like that I actually have the URL there, so people can become very familiar with it. And let's see, the bug number, that was 8335622. So countdown circle around pause button on IGN video review is malformed. Notice the pause button is countdown to start. Depending on the speed of your PC connection, you may miss it. Must watch it. The first 5 seconds of page load appears to be located in div class hero countdown paused. I would also mention on here, so I'm going to add a note to this bug just saying that, you know, initial review suggests that it's probably SVG related. Let's see here, and initial cursor review suggests this may be an SVG element. So I've added that to here, and I'm clicking Me Too because I also saw the issue. So now anyone who's in chat and can see bug number 8335622, I think I can just paste it on in here. Let's try that. Oh, yep, I'm totally clicking in the wrong place. Okay, there we go. So that is the URL that you can actually go through and report that you too see the issue. JazzF, so your question here about, you know, the way in which we're going to be releasing new features, it's unfortunately not a question that I'm able to help with. I work on the web platform ecosystem team, so my primary focus is, you know, understanding the state of our web platform support and, you know, fielding questions and stuff from developers, trying to help, you know, fix some of the bugs that might be you know, preventing them from having all the success and joy that they merit in life. So I honestly, I can't answer, you know, the means by which the browser is delivered to the operating system, unfortunately. But I do have a crashing bug. This is awesome. So now I get to file this. So there's a report on Twitter that Twitter dashboard has some rendering issues inside Edge, and I believe that is the case. I do know that I filed, I think it was 2 bugs last week, maybe 2 weeks ago for Twitter dashboard. So we'll be looking at those. We'll be evaluating the underlying cause. I don't think I was able to reduce them at the time, but that is something that we'll definitely try to do in the very near future. Jazz, thank you for the very kind words. We're working hard. We're trying to make the world's greatest browser. I think we're, considering that we are like still like less than a year old, around a year old, it's incredible what we've done, like from the ground up. I am truly, you know, I say it often on Twitter, I'm truly impressed with what this team has accomplished. The engineers that I work with are just some of the best in the world, second to none. I mean, truly just astounding minds at work on this product. So yeah, I'm just kind of a goober that floats around and helps people with some of their web development questions. But the true geniuses and masterminds are the ones that kind of operate behind the scenes, and they are really, really phenomenal people. Okay, so I'm looking now at my crash data. Let's see here. So, Dr. Fate, you're reporting an issue where presumably what you're talking about, if I open up Edge right here, talking about maybe up here in this this right section that this button just ceases to work for you as expected. Let's see here. I'm just checking my stream to make sure. Yep, I'm showing that. If you're running into issues with any of this stuff up here, that is an app-related issue. You can file that through the feedback hub, or you can send it straight to me. I'm more than happy to field those as well. But just do understand that I'm actually going to be forwarding those on to the app people. It's not something that I would actually be able to assist with directly. Again, my wheelhouse is the web development technologies, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and trying to understand how good our support is for present and emerging web standards. So if you're able to identify a series of steps or something that can be done that reproduces that breaking, that will be perfect, because I can then take that, give that to the app team, and they'll be able to try and reproduce the issue from that. Also, really key, always provide the browser version. So in this case, I'll show you a quick tip when you're reporting issues like this. When you're inside the web browser and you jump down to settings and go to the very bottom, there are two version numbers here that are being shown on the screen. So there's Microsoft Edge, which is version 25 on build 10.586, and Microsoft Edge HTML, which is build version 13 on 10.586. Whenever you're dealing with the web platform, in fact, my video is blocking this, so let me move this off to the side here real quick. And settings. So we have two different version numbers here. Whenever you're dealing with the frame or the area around the browser, these close buttons, the expand button, all this type of stuff, what you're dealing with is the Microsoft Edge app. That is the very first version there. So if I have an issue with my tabs in this particular build of Windows, I am going to be referring to Microsoft Edge version 25. If I run into an issue here inside the web page where things aren't rendering correctly, or they aren't being painted correctly, or layout is broken, well, now we're dealing with the actual engine, Edge HTML, that runs the web, that shows the websites and stuff. And any issues I report in this space would be for Microsoft Edge HTML 13 if I'm on a 10.586 build. If you're on a 14.3, 90 something, then you're probably dealing with Edge HTML 14 and Microsoft Edge. Is it 38? I believe. It's let's see here. Yep, Edge 38. So on build 14.393, which is what I have on my desktop, Edge HTML is version 14 and Edge is version 38. So, yep. So Peter reports that in tablet mode, having problems opening boards on Pinterest. Peter, I'm happy to look into that for you. If you are able to share an example URL. Why is the Edge Live tile blue on my PC? The system color is purple. That's a good question. If you can, shoot me a screenshot of that, just so I am sure I understand what the issue is without any confusion. So just take a quick screenshot and kind of crop it to that area and let me know what you're seeing. So let me jump in real quick and check Pinterest. Actually not a real huge Pinterest user, so this is to find a second to figure out how to get to a Pinterest board. Okay, I think I found a Pinterest board. Maybe, if that's what a Pinterest board is. Has a bunch of stuff pinned to it. I'm getting a giant ad, an interstitial ad over the page. It's telling me I have to sign up because somebody used Pinterest to roll her first pasta. I don't know. I just want to see the page. Let me see. Ethan, how are you doing? So no issues in desktop mode, only issues in... Yeah, Peter, if you're on Twitter, right here's my Twitter handle. So if you could DM me or, tweet at me with a link to a particular Twitter or to a Pinterest board, something that I can quickly pull up on my Surface Book and test in tablet mode, that would be very, very helpful. I usually start out the day by checking Twitter. So anytime you have a URL or a slow site or broken site or something that is laid out incorrectly or just a general question about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, happy to look at that. Usually come across the stuff first thing in the morning. So anytime, day or night, send your tweet in and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. So Ethan points out that Edge has a toggle for the light theme and dark theme, but not an option to listen for the system theme. I think that has been requested. Just as a reminder, that would be part of the outside of Edge. That would be part of the Edge application itself. And so that particular feedback would go to the Edge app team, which I'm more than happy to forward on your behalf. So I'll make sure I reach out to a buddy of mine that works over there and see if that is one of the features that they've been given consideration to, is that linking of the desktop theme to Edge itself. And so, because I mean, it's entirely optional that it's possible that you might actually want that relationship to be there, and yet others may not. And so it's, how do you proceed forward? Do you add a third option, which is just inherit from the desktop, or what that looks like? I'm not quite sure. So it looks like Martin is trying to assist with some of the tile transparency questions. So thank you, Martin. So Ben is asking, are there plans for web pages or extensions to set the browser color? There was a request a long time ago for a feature called theme color, I believe. I think it was called theme color. And essentially it was an HTML value that you could put into your page that would say, for instance, my theme or my color scheme is blue. And then it would actually style the tab or the browser or portions of it based upon the page that you're presently looking at. I don't know that we have any plans for that right now. That would be an app side thing, so I'm not the authority to speak on that, but there did used to be a proposal for that, and I don't think any major browser supports it, to my knowledge. I have seen emerging browsers begin to support it, and so it's some experimental ways that it can be used, but it's a wonderful suggestion. So it looks like Peter just buzzed me on Twitter. Let me check Peter's tweet real quick. I'm opening up this. Okay. So if this is the page, let me try and pull this up over here on my desktop. Okay, so let's see. We're going to go ahead and switch over to... Well, let me make sure first I understand. Let me check Peter's comments up above. Peter says, when in tab mode, I'm having problems opening boards on Pinterest. So, Peter, if you could give me just a little bit more details about what exactly you're facing. I'm trying to think. I might be able to... I've got a laptop here, which is running 14393. That I could open this up and put it on tablet mode, presumably, and see what we run into. But yeah, any additional details would be super, super helpful. I'm more than happy to check on my my Surface Book, but I think right now if I check on the Surface Book, it may actually mess up like windows like this, the chat window and stuff. So I want to be a little cautious. So using a Surface Pro 4, tapping on a board, nothing opens. Okay, excellent. Excellent that we got the feedback. Not excellent that nothing happens, clearly. Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and take this laptop then, my ThinkPad, and I'm gonna go ahead and open up this Pinterest link that you sent me. But I do want to make sure I'm in tablet mode. Okay, so I'm now in tablet mode. Let's go to this URL. Okay, so I'm gonna pick one of these. Interior looked like it came up just fine for me there. If I close this. So let's see, I'm going to turn up my brightness real quick. And just kind of share what it is I'm seeing. So I'm looking at the page here, and I believe what is being reported is some of these, I'm assuming these are the boards right here that you're referring to, Peter. Sometimes it works, so we'll just try a few. We'll do trap. Looks like that is working. We'll try Slapkammer. I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation of this. That too looks like it's working all right. Original. Looks like that loaded, so I'm not immediately able to reproduce the issue. Husen. So it seems like it's working for the most part for me. Let me just double check again. I'm on, this is 14393 as well. So I think what we probably want to try and do is try to be very mindful of when. So let me, I guess, ask a couple probing questions to see if I understand this. So whenever you're saying that sometimes it works, oh, waiting on an upgrade to finish. So it might actually just magically start working for you afterwards. But real quick, whenever you're saying sometimes it works, is it the case that when you click on it, it doesn't do anything, and then when you click it again, then it works? Or do you have to refresh it to get it to work? When it stops working, like, is it just permanently not working? And we got the tweeted picture of the live tile, so I'll check that out as well. So let's see. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, I think the I'm not quite sure if that is supposed to be the system color, that particular live tile. I will forward that off to the app team. I believe that would be an appropriate question for them, and we'll see if we can get some insight from them. So if I'm not mistaken, the purple color above is that meant to be the system color? Are you expecting the color behind Microsoft Edge, behind the white logo and the white text, to be the same kind of purple that's above? Get another Twitter question regarding keyboard that appears then goes away. We actually had a bug like that we worked on and resolved some times back. So if you have any questions like that, again, please always put the version of Edge that you're using. Okay, so Peter's given additional details here. When I touch a board, it slightly moves but does not open. Peter, this would be a great thing to capture as an animated GIF. So earlier I shared screen to GIF, which is a really great utility. Let's see if I can just pull that up again real quick. We're going to jump inside here, and we'll go to screen to GIF. Doing that search takes us to Codeplex. Screen to GIF is a small application. I don't even think there's an install. It's just an executable that you download. And then whenever you run it, what it does is it shows you a small box on your screen. And the box, I think this was the tab that was connected to Fiddler, and I think I might have just killed this since I closed Fiddler. Let's try Task Manager and details. Figure out which one of these tabs is that one. Perhaps this one? Nope, I don't know what I just closed. Let's try this one. There we go, okay. Okay. So Michael West is kind of chiming in on another discussion here. So we have a question. Yeah, so there was I guess a question here. Skype for the web isn't available on this device yet, and that may in fact be because it's a mobile device. You have to definitely give Michael's advice a spin real quick and see if that's able to resolve the issue for you, which is saying you want to prefer the desktop site. Now let's check here to see if I can close this and load up screen to GIF at Codeplex. There we go. So screen to GIF, as I was saying, this will open up a very small application on your computer screen. You will size the element that's on your screen. You can actually record. You can pick all sorts of options. Really great tool. But if you have the issue where you are seeing slight movement whenever you're interacting with an element, an animated GIF is perfect. Presumably, as long as you're capturing enough frames to really convey the nature of that behavior and the nature of that problem so that we can understand it more fully. Is there an Edge app person to follow on Twitter? I actually don't know. I have, I think there are. I had two friends over there. One of them, she moved to the Shell team on Windows, if I'm not mistaken. And the other one, I don't think he's on Twitter, but let me do a quick check to see. Yes, I don't think he is on Twitter. So unfortunately, I don't know of somebody that's over there on that team that will be able to interact with you on Twitter. But again, just you can shoot the request to me, shoot an email to me. My email address is josamp@microsoft.com, JOSAMP at microsoft.com. And screenshots, notes, version numbers, all that stuff, I can then go ahead and just forward it directly off to a contact over on that team to see if we can work toward resolution. So confirmation here that the icon on Edge is expected to have the purple background. So I'm actually going to fire off an email right now to my buddy over on the app side team regarding your issue right now to see if this is something he may be able to assist me with, because I'm actually not quite sure if we are intentionally having the blue background or if our intent is to adopt whatever the system color is. Let's see here. All right, so this email is pretty much wrapped up. Would this be the same guy who can add a toggle for listen? So it would be the same individual to have that conversation with. And so I'll actually, I'll put that in the same email actually here, and just mention that as well. If you pinged me on Twitter about that, please do go ahead and bump that thread on Twitter so I can see it. If not, then no worries. I think it's a fairly straightforward item that I can just explain and describe in the email. But either way, yeah, this is kind of my go-to guy for everything over on the app side team. So Nilesh says I sound like a desperate Will Smith in an apocalyptic world calling for companionship. Thank you. I think. Let's see, what's up next? So another request here, well, a report actually that creditkarma.com, after you log in, it just breaks and doesn't go anywhere. So that is from Temos. Let's see if we can get some additional details. Let's see. All right, let's see if we can work on this. Let's see, George Moeda is perguntando, vai ter o Edge para o macOS? Eu não sei. Principalmente, quando o povo pergunta sobre o Edge, está perguntando se eles podem fazer o desenvolvimento. Então, a gente fez os Virtual Machines completamente de graça. Acabou de colocar o 14.393, a versão, no microsoftedge.com. Se você ir por dev.microsoftedge.com, o mesmo endereço dessa aqui, mas tira o bugs e coloca dev. E quando você ia para lá, você pode baixar os máquinas virtuais absolutamente de graça para fazer o teste quando você está fazendo desenvolvimento no web. Se você precisa mais do que isso, também tem os serviços na internet chamada, por exemplo, BrowserStack. BrowserStack.com. Você pode ir para lá, eles têm todos os... eles têm a maioria de todos os navegadores e todas as versões mais novas disponível. Então, se você tem, por exemplo, o Windows, o desktop, você pode usar os últimos duas versões do Edge, 13 e 12. Se você precisa de 14, tem que baixar o máquina virtual de graça, lembra disso. Mas você também, pelo esse serviço, o BrowserStack, você pode usar pode fazer o teste no celular também. Eles têm versões do Edge, versões do Safari, que você pode usar pelo seu navegador, não tem que baixar nada. É muito legal. Então, se você precisa mais do que isso, explique para mim por quê, e talvez a gente pode explorar as outras opções para te ajudar. So, yeah, we're doing questions in English and Portuguese today, everybody. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Excellent. So Ethan just emailed me. Thank you, Ethan. Or not emailed me, but tweeted at me. Copying the link now, and I'm going to put this into the same email to the my buddy on the app team. Jorge, também a gente tem as máquinas virtuais para quase todas as aplicações que você pode usar. Tem VirtualBox, tem Hyper-V, tem Parallels por o macOS, tem VMware também. Então, acho que esse vai ser suficiente. Tenta essa solução. Se você não gosta, você pode responde para mim, me deixa, explica sobre sua experiência e tudo isso. Carlos Eduardo Oliveira Silva, obrigado. Let's see, Ethan. Yeah, let me get your items put in this email here as well. Maybe I need to announce that I'm streaming in Portuguese. Oh my goodness, we have a lot of Brazilians in here. Okay. Existe alguma possibilidade de no futuro que o Microsoft Edge receber uma ferramenta para bloquear anúncios de forma nativa, semelhantemente ao Opera? Wesley's asking, is it possible in the future that Edge will have a built-in ad blocker? Wesley, a gente tem suporte agora para a extensão AdBlock Plus e também AdBlock. Com essas duas opções, eu acho que você não precisa nada nativa, mas eu não sei. Essa não é a minha decisão. Essa é para as outras pessoas decidir o que a gente vai fazer nessa área. O que eu faço no time é o HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Eu trabalhar com as máquinas, os engines no interior da aplicação. Então, pode ser no futuro, não sei. Mas agora tem essas duas opções. Se você não é uma parte do programa Windows Insiders, você pode esperar mais 2 dias. E no segundo dia de agosto, a gente vai começar a baixar as novas versões do Windows 10, Windows 10. O Anniversary Update, e aquela versão tem suporte para os extensions. Então você pode usar essas duas se você quiser. Eu só uso a Black Plus, mas você pode fazer o que você quiser. So I'm just telling Wesley that the decision of putting this stuff natively into the browser is definitely not something I could ever speak to. Presently, we do have support for extensions. Windows Insiders have been enjoying them for quite some time. I enjoy them as well. A couple of the extensions are AdBlock and AdBlock Plus, and so those are actually both available via the Windows Store if you are on the Insider program. And I think those have been around. Oh my goodness! I mean, many builds. We've had support for extensions now for quite a while. So, eu espero que essa resposta te ajude, Wesley. Obrigado. So I hope that answer helps. Let's see. So we have the first question here. So we'll do some text formatting. I'm going to make my email look really beautiful. So this guy is like, I can't say no because the email is so gorgeous looking. Let's see. Vice.com on mobile. I can't read the page. Web page is frozen. Refresh it. Self after like 4 minutes. Build 14.395. I think actually Vice was reported a couple days ago, or maybe last week. So I have to check that one again. I do recall seeing that come across Twitter though. Let's see, the other question was linking Edge theme to desktop. Let's see. Inheriting desktop themes in Edge. Okay. My email to my homeboy over on the app team is almost done. I think it's only these two items right now. So the ability to adjust the mobile tile color to that of your system color, and the ability to inherit desktop themes in Edge, so that if Edge or if the desktop is light, then Edge will be light, and the opposite. If the desktop was dark, then Edge will be dark. And so these are presently areas that are way beyond my wheelhouse, but I'm more than happy to pass these on. All right, this email is going out. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was the size of your screenshot that made me think it was a mobile issue. So let me see. Okay. Yep. All right. I will take out that word mobile then. Tiles and system color. Okay. So yeah, I think I have you accurately represented now, Ethan. What I'm basically saying is the user's asking about the background of the title. They want to know if the blue is intentional or if we failed to adopt the system color, the purple seen above. So that's the description that I'm sending along with that. I did have mobile tile in the top, but I think that was just because it was a small screenshot. You cropped it, I think, as I asked you to. Thank you very much. I apologize for the confusion on my behalf. And yeah, I think that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and send this over. Excellent. That email is gone. Awesome. Yep. Thank you, Ethan, for helping us build such an awesome browser. Let's see. So next up, let's see if we have. There's no other reports that I can see coming in. There is one here of Microsoft Edge on mobile for so let me check out this issue real quick. Let me see if I have. Oh, are you? Oh, here it is. I'm trying to find my phone. Okay. So this issue in my phone is actually about to die. Unless I get my charging cable. That's not the one. Other charging cables. What did I do with my charging cable? I'm just gonna borrow my neighbor's cable. I'll put it back. I'm not gonna keep it forever. Or will I? Let's see here. So I'm actually gonna open this up on my Surface Book, like we did last week, where I was able to share my phone screen by using the Project My Screen app. So we'll open this up real quick. And let me see if I can run over to this particular URL. Let me tag one. Okay, so I've got this URL in here now. We'll do log in. Okay, so let's see. The issue here is cannot type. Keyboard appears and then goes away. Ooh, this is nasty. Okay, let me show you this. So I'm going to go ahead and open up screen share, or project my app rather. Project my screen app, and we will then switch to bottom right, and I'll show what we're looking at here. So this is now my screen. Let me make sure that looks right on my feed. That is over here. Sorry, okay, there we go. So this is my screen right here. You're looking at my phone right now, and so I can scroll up and down the page. And the issue here that the user is reporting is with the email and password fields. So you notice if I click on email, keyboard comes up and then goes away. If I click on password, keyboard comes up and goes away. If I hit reset, that's probably going to take me to a different page. Let me jump back one here. And we try, what does remember do? That's a checkbox. Looks like it just threw the page over into the side though. Email, password. So it's clear that there's something wrong here. So I think at this point, the next step would be to try and reproduce this on the desktop. This isn't all that difficult either. What I think is happening here, so there's something that's happening where when we click on the field, these are just regular HTML input fields presumably. Whenever I click on those, they get focus. When they get focus, it brings the keyboard up, but then whenever they get the blur event fired, they fire the blur event, the keyboard drops back down because now there's no more input fields in focus. As a result, we no longer have our keyboard up. We cannot put in any text. So let's see. A few issues while reading articles on Kotaku. So we can actually check that out. Juan Cruz Sucadi in just a moment. So let's go ahead and try and repro this mobile issue on the desktop real quick. I'll show you how we do that. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize the mobile app here. We'll switch back to top center for just a moment. Next, I want to go ahead and open up a web browser, and I'm going to try and open up the same exact address inside this web browser. So let me move this off the screen, navigate to this site. So this is, where's that URL? Okay, so I think I've got that URL in here now. Yep. All right. Actually, it looks like we don't even need to change the UA string or anything. So let's jump over to full screen. We'll open this up, and we'll jump in to look at this page. So you notice this is, it's just actual like a mobile page. It's built for mobile. It's very small. And we can increase the size real quick and actually see what this looks like. If I click on this, it retains focus. If I click on this, it retains focus. So these aren't blurring themselves on the desktop on 10.5.86. What I want to do is open up the same page over here on 14.393 real quick and just make sure that it's not happening there as well. So I'm opening this up now on my desktop. I do see that I have my LastPass extension in Microsoft Edge is on those. So clicking on one of those, I don't get a blur event. So kind of where my mind is right now is I'm thinking, you know, on the phone we actually have touch events and that kind of stuff that we don't have whenever we're clicking with the mouse. So what I want to do is on my desktop, I'm going to take my bionic pointer here and just touch email, touch, password, and neither one of those actually lose focus either. So not yet reproed, but let's go ahead and take the next step, which is to inspect the individual elements themselves and see if there are any obvious telltale signs of something that could lend to that automatic blurring of the element whenever we're trying to watch it, or trying to focus on it rather. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Now we have this particular input selected right now. There are no event attribute items on this. So oftentimes on HTML elements you might see something that says like on focus, on blur. Like if we were to come in here and we were to add to this on focus, I believe, and then we said alert foo. The moment we come up here and we click on the password field now, we're going to get this foo alert. And so what happens is, the first thing we're kind of looking for is to make sure that there's not something like on focus this dot blur, because that would totally cause the type of behavior that we're seeing. So for instance, if we were to come in here and edit this attribute, instead of saying alert foo, we said this dot blur. Now whenever we focus on that, it actually stays on there. Let's see. Let's say password.blur. I don't know if we do it like that, or if we have to execute it. So do email, password. It's actually not losing the focus like I would expect it to with that. We could try to move the focus off. This is kind of a stupid thing to be doing anyway. Yeah, never mind. So let me just pop this attribute off of there. We're going to we just delete the name. That pulls the whole thing off there. Now what I'm going to do is look at this attribute itself and check out some of the events that are bound to it. So there is a focus event. You notice that. Like this is kind of telling, because there's really not a clear reason why we would expect to see a focus event on this element itself. But we can jump in and we can listen for, let's see, this is going to take us into jQuery. We don't want to go on the jQuery, so I'm going to go into, instead, the debugger, breakpoints, and I'm going to add an event breakpoint. This event breakpoint, I'm going to listen for the focus event. So that focus event is right here, and we're going to click add, and then I'm just going to tap on this field. I didn't get it. Let's refresh this real quick. We do have an event breakpoint set for the focus event. So let's try this now. Focus. Okay, now that time we broke. And that is what we expect, but we're breaking inside jQuery. jQuery is library code. I'm really not that interested in jQuery. The problem is likely not inside jQuery. So I want to make sure that this is marked as library code. And I want to, let's see, this is already selected, just my code. So this should ignore anything that is explicitly marked library code or anything that is inside of a .min.js file. That's oftentimes, we assume that's library code as well, and we'll just skip that as well. So let's press play. Now we're inside platform. So here you notice we're getting into some familiar looking scripting. So there's some jQuery code written here that is targeting all input elements, all select elements, all text area elements, and it is binding to the focus and blur event. And what it does is it gets the viewport. Interesting. So it's grabbing a meta tag that has a name of viewport, which is an element that is oftentimes used to reconcile the sizing of a web page on a mobile device. So maybe if you've gone to a website and you've gone to it on your phone and the website is like really tiny, like shrunk down, they're basically delivering the desktop site to your mobile device. The viewport tag will actually let you set explicitly the device width or the width of the viewport to the device width, which will cause it to be sized more appropriately for that page. So it looks like inside here they're trying to do something with that based upon whenever you focus and blur. which is kind of peculiar. So they're setting the attribute to width equals device width, initial scale 1, max scale should be, if it is blur, it should be 10. Otherwise, it should be 1. Okay, so I think what this is doing, if I'm understanding this correctly, I'm going to pull up the my phone again. What it looks like this is saying is that we can expand, but the moment we click on an element, it's going to zoom back in. So notice I'm able to move around and stuff on this page by expanding that scale, but the moment I click email, it drops back down. And that's really interesting. So let's try something here. I want to see if this platform code, I want to see if we can just rip this out. So what I'm going to do is, so this is the jQuery attribute. Let's, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and set a breakpoint right here so that we don't actually run this code. Actually, I need to do this for my phone. Okay. Trying to think the best way to debug this, because actually what I want to do is I want to actually remove this code from the page to see if it resolves the issue itself. Let me actually see if this repro is on the desktop if I zoom in really far and then focus on a field. So we'll close the DevTools. I will zoom in and then click on an email. It actually does not do anything at all. So there's a bit of a difference, and again, this is 10.586, so this is not going to be a one-to-one comparison with the phone here. So the phone, I'd actually want to, if I were really set on testing this, which I am, so let's just do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to patch the phone's traffic through my Surface Book. I'm going to intercept it with Fiddler. That way I can then manipulate it with Fiddler and send the manipulated copy of the site back to my phone so that we can test it on the screen. Sounds like a fun challenge, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I am on the same network. So we're going to jump back into this top center mode, and I am not. Oh, goodness. Okay, I can't do that. I don't think I can. Let me see. I'd have to switch networks midstream. Yep, I can't do that. I have to switch networks midstream in order to do that. So the way in which that works, though, you actually you go to your Wi-Fi settings, and there is an option to set up a proxy. In the proxy settings, what you do is you grab the IP address from a machine that is on the same exact network. You put that in as the proxy. When you open up Fiddler, you'll see an option inside the Fiddler settings to use it as a remoting like proxy for phones to capture remote or mobile traffic. It will give you a port number. I cannot recall for the life of me what that port number is in Fiddler, but you basically put the port number in there with the proxy settings as well, and restart Edge on the phone, and now you're in business. Whenever you actually connect to the internet from your phone, the traffic will go through the machine that you've proxied to through Fiddler. You can then do the autoresponder like we were doing there briefly earlier, and start to make small manipulations to the page to see if you can isolate what's causing the actual problem itself. And so that's what I'm ultimately going to do with this particular site. It'll have to be after the broadcast, though, whenever I've pulled the machine off of this network and put it onto the same network as this one, the same Wi-Fi signal and everything. And so that'll be my next step. But I am curious if this particular issue, let's see, this was reported by Peter Reet. I'm curious if this was filed. So I do want to check and see if this has been filed already. Okay, so while that question is out, I can then see what else we have. So speaking of username passwords, it'd be nice if Edge gave you a way to edit your saved passwords. There's a similar feature in Chrome if you go to Settings, Advanced Passwords. Actually, you know what? We had someone request this, and I think the justification was that they had unintentionally put in the wrong password on a particular site. And so it had saved, or something like that. They'd put in some information, it saved it for that particular domain, and it tried to suggest that every time they went back there. And so I do recall asking the app team about that particular functionality. And so if that's something that is not presently on the radar right now, it might be something that we can give consideration to in the near future. So good suggestion, Ethan. So we have a couple more URLs here. We have El País and El Mundo, both Spanish, so Spain URLs. Those are reportedly crashing Edge, so we'll have to check into those real quick. So Chief Tech is writing, let's see. Do you think maybe you can change the width of Edge on the desktop or the UA string to fool the page? So Chief Tech, I believe you may be referring to what we were just doing here with the page on the desktop. One of the things that we can do, and we'll actually cover this real quick, is we'll pull this page right back up. So you notice I'm looking at the full, this is on the desktop, it's the regular page. I don't think there's any difference whatsoever in the page's logic that it lays itself out differently on the desktop than it does on the phone, because they just look so identical. Let me see though, if we jump in here, doesn't look like, I mean, so this is, if we open up the head, we do see the meta viewport. This is the tag that gets recreated as you focus and blur on different things. And so let's see, if I were to zoom in right now, that minimum scale is, or max scale is 10. And if I were to do that, oh, I still have my event breakpoint set. So let's turn that off. Oh no, I might have just froze Edge. This is why I'm looking so forward to getting my update on August 2nd. So let's task manager, and we'll go to details real quick. Where are you? There you are. Okay, we'll have to open up the chat window again in just a second here. So there's the YouTube chat window. We can move that over. And there we go. So YouTube chat window is loaded. Okay, so let's try this one more time. So I'm going to go back to this particular page. We'll switch back to the desktop view. And we'll open this up, inspect elements. Now I want to make sure this time that I don't have my debugging breakpoints set. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. And we're going to jump into the desktop. And you'll remember this is, so right now we have initial scale set to 1. Let's maximize this. And let's focus on something. You can see that initial scale just got changed again. So now whenever I blur, it's set to 10. Focus, it's set to 1. Blur, set to 10. So you notice there is actually a change happening there whenever we blur and focus. So adjusting the viewports on mobile, that may be enough to cause the problem there. So whenever you focus, we switch that max scale to 1. When we blur, which means we're clicking off of the input someplace else, the max scale sets itself to 10. So I suspect once we once we go into the page and we have set up the autoresponder through Fiddler and we strip out that particular line of code, we may not see this issue repro on the mobile device itself. And so that would be the reduction, and that's actually what I'm going to probably try to do once we finish the broadcast today, and I'll make a note of that to wrap that up before I head home today. So let's see here. Yep, okay, so there's another question here. WinBeta. This is so there's a font scaling item right now that has bitten a couple of people. Let's go ahead and we'll pull up WinBeta.org. And I'm going to go into my settings real quick, and I'll show you the screen in just a moment here. I want to make sure that everything is set up to repro the bug. So I believe what I need to do is go down to go into one of these posts, and then from here check the comments. I think this is the repro. It looks like what the screenshot is here from KSA News. So I am trying right now, let's see here if I can pull up share my screen. Let me plug this in again. So it's actually, let's try running this program one more time. Oh, it's actually project my screen, rather. There we go. So we'll say yes to share that. So here is the WinBeta site that I'm looking at right now. It's actually, oh, there's, okay, we have a little bit of larger text. Trying to find a good example of the issue though. So right now, let me go just a little bit higher. So the inside your settings here is this text scaling. So if I go to 140%, it's supposed to make the operating system more legible. It makes text inside Edge more legible, but you notice there's some text where the vertical line, like this Groove app supports background music, the vertical line is actually pretty close on that. Other text looks really nice, like this. Mike mentions a feature is already available, but corrects himself as a tweet he posted shortly after. Again, I don't know what it is I'm reading here. I'm not affirming anything that might be affirmed on this site here, but I'm just pointing out to the viewers that when we look at the text here, the text itself, you can see the line heights are different. Once we get down to the comments, this is where we start to see things look pretty crazy. So this is MS, better be Stevie Wonder. I have no idea what Authorama is saying here. There's also Hurlemania comments, right? Okay, Hurlemania says, yes, stop teasing us. Anyway, you notice that the text just doesn't look all that great right there. You run across this on some sites, and this is just the way that the styling is. I should dive into this and see what the styling is for these individual list items, or these lines right here, these elements, because that would give a bit more insight. But right now, you can actually come across some websites that are just entirely like this. So if we were to go to, for instance, Wikipedia, if we looked at the Encyclopedia Britannica on Wikipedia, And again, this is my screen is at 140%. You notice that some websites are actually far more extreme than others. This is entirely unusable. You notice I have no idea where I'm in. I'm scrolling right now, but I don't see anything. Oh, there it is. It's off to the side. So this is not at all usable. If we scroll out as much as we can, now we just have this thin column over on the side. And so what we happen to do here is we have to jump out and go to the settings and drop those down to 100%. And then from there, sites like Wikipedia will render correctly. But I think this is, again, some type of interop issue that I'm going to have to dive into and start to look at why exactly these particular issues are reproducing on the entire site when it comes to Wikipedia. And whenever we go back to sites like WinBeta, they only occur inside some of the comments at the very bottom. I suspect the issue once we align those two things, because if I put the text all the way up here at 200% for high resolution screens, you'll notice that WinBeta is still like very usable. There are some areas, like we look right here where it says 2 comments placed in that over the top of some additional text. And then these tweets are very, they're starting to get pretty messy. But the actual web page content here, like this Mike mentions, that portion continues to look really nice. So the issue is going to be in those someplace. And of course, this text is just completely illegible at this point. So that is the issue we're seeing on this particular site. Let's see here. So I can minimize this now. We'll jump back out of here and back to this particular arrangement. Oops. And we'll make that window just a tad bit smaller. So, yep, this is all awesome feedback. I think what we need to do is probably set up the autoresponder. I'm gonna, again, that's something that requires me to switch my Surface Book from the Wi-Fi connection it's currently on over to the other Wi-Fi connection, which is currently being used by this guy right here, and patch all of the mobile traffic through the Surface Book, through Fiddler, where I can then set up an autoresponder and start to manipulate some of this stuff in real time and actually see if I can peel away a lot of the code that is not necessary and figure out why those particular elements across a couple different domains share this quality of just being completely blown out of proportion whenever we actually bump up the text scaling for accessibility, because you need to have the text scaling in there for accessibility purposes. We're dealing with very high resolution screens, and if everything is displayed with a 1-to-1 per pixel per screen pixel, you're going to have extremely tiny stuff on the screen, and that is just, I'm only in my 30s and I need stuff to be bumped up just a little bit. I don't need my food pre-chewed or pre-mashed or anything yet, but that day's coming too. Let's see. So another site, actually, mobiletwitter.com was actually shared here too. It also is impacted by this particular issue, which is not shocking because as we look on WinBeta, we notice that some of those embedded tweets actually have the text is starting to show that issue where the text itself is just becoming very difficult to manage. Let's see. So I think this is probably a good stopping point. I'm going to run and grab some lunch. Again, like this came in 9 o'clock this morning. It is now 1:50 p.m. So that's a nice little stint for an online broadcasting thing. Thank you, everybody. Let's see here. Do you know when full screen like F12 will come to Edge? Dietmar, full screen, we currently support the full screen API for web pages that want to make something full screen. As far as the F11 button, which I think you might be referring to, that is currently not supported. It is something that I think we're looking into bringing to a future build of Edge. Unfortunately, that's an app-related thing. I'm on the web platform side, so I don't have any timelines or anything like that to give you. But feel free to ping me every now and then, and I'll see if I can try and find some progress updates for you on that. But to everyone else, thank you very, very much for tuning in. I may do yet another shorter broadcast today, but either way, this has been lots of fun. Hope that you're learning some great tips and tricks for filing great bugs, doing some of this research. Remember, bugs.microsoft.com. If you come across anything at all, please file a bug, and we will be just eternally indebted to you for that, because we want to truly build the best possible browser for the web as it is, and we sincerely, it sounds cliche, but we cannot do it without you. I mean, there are only, on my particular team, we have about a dozen of us. That's not enough. we don't have all of the machines, we don't have all the phones, we don't have all the browsing habits, we don't visit all the sites. We need you. You are a crucial part of this team. And for those of you who are engaged in the Insider program, insider.windows.com, thank you so much. Those of you who engage actively on Twitter, you can find me over here, Sampson MSFT. Thank you so much. It is a joy every day to wake up and see that I have 20, 30, 40, 50 tweets sometimes with URLs that we can check out, features people want to see, excitement over something that we just rolled out, people who are just now getting one of the 14.3 something builds. It is a truly phenomenal gift that I've been given to be on this team and to get to talk with you all every week. So thank you very much. If I get to broadcast another time again, I will announce it on Twitter today. If not, I will see you all next Saturday. Bye. How do I turn this off? I don't know how to turn this off. How do I turn it off? I'm just joking. I totally know how to turn it off.